Here is Jordan Peterson on Rule 2. Treat yourself like you would someone who you are responsible for helping.
In Rule 2, it's a bit of a meditation on why people don't like themselves very much. And I think there's two reasons, really. And one is that we're fragile and damageable and imperfect in multiple dimensions all the time. So there's that. It's like you're weak and kind of useless and prone to temptation. And you know all those things, you know, that just shouldn't be that way. And then you're also capable of pretty vicious acts of malevolence. And so you also know that about yourself, the problem that every human being has always had and always will. So it's not just you. Despite the fact that you're not all that you could be, the proper attitude to have towards yourself is the attitude that you would have towards someone that you genuinely cared for. And that it's incumbent on you to act as if you genuinely care for yourself. More than that, it's a discussion of why you have a moral obligation to do that. It's not just that you should because it would be better for you. You actually have a moral obligation to do that, I think, because you make the world a much better place, much worse place if you don't take care of yourself. So you should bloody well take care of yourself, you know, because, well, that's what the chapter's about. It's partly because you have something valuable to bring into the world. That's the thing about being an individual. It's the thing that Western civilization has always recognized, that as an individual, you have a light that you have to bring into the world, and that if you don't bring it into the world is a dimmer place, and that's a bad thing, because when the world is a dim place, it can get very, very, very dark. And so it's necessary, not just so that you feel better, not just so that you're a #1 lobster, none of those things. You need to take care of yourself because you're in the best position to do that. And it's necessary for you to take care of yourself. Despite the fact that we're mortal and vulnerable and self-conscious and capable, not only capable of doing terrible things, but actually do them. Despite all that, you still have that responsibility.
Jordan Peterson starts this rule with a very insightful wisdom about how we view ourselves and the fragility of our personality and the evil that lurks in our hearts, and then goes on to demonstrate his humanity, his compassion, his strong desire to help everybody by insisting that we each have a light to bring into the world. It's part of the reason why I love him. He's so sincere and insightful. However, it's not a working strategy that he presents. He just uncovers the fact that we have these problems, but how do you go about fixing them? We need a working strategy. And here I think, again, Jewish teachings provides one, and it's a very interesting strategy. And let me point out, first of all, that the problem is a subconscious problem. We don't consciously go around thinking ill of ourselves. We dress up, we make ourselves look good, we try and put our best face forward and so on. But he's saying deep down, we really don't think very highly of ourselves, and that's subconscious. So it would make sense that the strategy for undoing that would also use the subconscious. So listen to this. Jewish teachings tells us when you wake up first thing in the morning, that you should wash your hands, and you do it in a particular way. You use a cup, you fill a cup with water, and then you pour it over your right hand from the wrist down to the fingertips, and then the left hand, and then the right hand, and then the left hand, and then the right hand, and then the left hand, 3 times on each hand, alternating, using this cup. It's a ritual. And so Jewish teachings asks the question, why do you do this? And they give 3 answers. Now remember, in rule number 1, I showed a great affection for things that come in threes. Here's another 2 examples. You wash 3 times, and then there's 3 reasons given why. And those reasons are: 1, while you're sleeping, your hands are wandering all over your body. They're touching dirty places, sweaty spots, picking up germs. Best to get rid of all that sweaty stuff from your hands. So that's one reason you wash. Another reason given is that we're reminding ourselves how the priests started their day in the temple. That when they came in, they had a duty, before they started anything, they had to wash their hands. And so we remind ourselves of that time, even though it's long gone, we don't have a temple anymore. And thirdly, we wash our hands because while we're sleeping, it's like we're dead. You know, there's no life there. And death is considered the source of spiritual impurity. And in order to drive it away, you have to wash it away. There's a spiritual cleansing, and we use water for that. And so even though you're awake now, But we're told that the stench of death, the remnant of death, lingers on your fingertips. So you're to wash that away with the water by doing it in this particular way, alternating with a cup. Think about these three things. They're saying that first you have to be clean. You have to start fresh with yourself every morning. Don't let yesterday's baggage weigh you down. Secondly, you are like a priest in the temple. Your temple is the day you're about to begin. In this day, you will do service to the Lord. You're going to live your life. You're going to do good things. You're going to try and behave yourself, try and prove yourself, prove others. That's your temple service. You're like a priest. So it makes sense that you should behave like one as you start the day and consecrate yourself to that task just as they did. And thirdly, you have to remove what I said earlier, the stench of death from yourself. Now, this is the subconscious of, we know how fragile we are. We know how the evil that lurks in our hearts. We know how really we're winding up to die, and maybe nothing's worth it. And that's not true, as Jordan Peterson says. There's a light to bring into the world. But first, before you bring in the light, you have to get rid of the death that we experience all the time. So you wash it away. This is the spiritual impurity or uncleanness that it's translated in the Bible when it discusses this, because it reminds us that it doesn't go on forever. So we tend to think that we're useless because we're going to die. There's that feeling in the back of our heads, that subconscious feeling. So this is what we're washing away. And look at the way we do it. We're doing it, first of all, 3 times. 3 is the minimum number that you need to establish a pattern. If I tell you 1, 2, you don't know what the third number is. It could be 3 because 2 is 1 more than 1, and 3 is 1 more than 2. Or the next number could be 4 because 2 is twice 1, and twice 2 would be 4. So which pattern are we establishing? But once I give you 3 numbers, whether it's 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 4, then you know what the next number is going to be. It's either 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 4, 8. Because you've established a pattern already, so you already know what to do. That means that it goes on, you can build from it easily. So you do it 3 times to establish a pattern. Secondly, we do it with alternating, because as Jordan Peterson says elsewhere in his book, you have to take your problems and attack them a little bit at a time. You have to carve them up into manageable pieces. So alternating the 2 hands and washing them one after the other, it shows you that you've got to do a little bit at each time, and eventually you'll succeed. So it reminds you of that. And thirdly, you have to do it with a cup. It's not enough to just stick your hands in water or put them under a tap. You have to take action. With the cup, you are taking action. You are pouring it on your hand. You're washing yourself. So you have to remind yourself that you have to take action. Only you. It's only your action that can affect your person, your behavior, your world, your family, whatever it is you're working on. It's your actions that do this. And so subconsciously, maybe you just learned this once, subconsciously you're going to teach yourself not to look down at yourself and treat yourself as nothing, but that you're clean, that you're capable of overcoming it, that you're like a priest in a temple. You have things to do, things to accomplish. You belong here, and like Jordan Peterson says, you can bring light into the world. And that's a good working strategy, subconscious, but it'll work. There's rituals all over that people respect, even if it's not your ritual, even if you're not Jewish. You can take this on, because a ritual is, you come into a place and they have a beautiful ritual, like, you're an immigrant to a new country, you find out that everybody goes for coffee, or they go for tea, or they have this ritual or that ritual, so you adopt it. So here's a ritual you can adopt, doesn't take long, and it has its effect, and it'll help you overcome this feeling of malaise, feeling of fragility, feeling of worthlessness. You're very worthy, and you just have to take action to achieve it. That's the end of Rule 2.